want to understand your origin story, because I believe the way you see watches now, this obsession with harmony, with hidden genius also, that also carries your DNA, um, with objects that transform also identity. Um, did this start at Bulgari or at university? You have a degree in economics and from University of Milan. And so take me back. What do I need to know about your earliest context, your childhood, your family, your environment, to understand who is Guido today and how he started?
Well, I think I'm a very simple person. I mean, I have values which are deeply founded in my family. So my family is very important. I think my father taught me the courage of being standing by my ideas and the integrity to believe in them and not follow the crowd. Use your own brain in life. And then also he passed me the passion for motorcycling, so that's part of his legacy that I continue enjoying my ridings in travelings. Um, the other side of my family is my mother, who was a teacher of music, so completely different from my father.
What did your father do?
My father was a simple person. He was self-made, started with his father and in the small factory that his father had. My grandfather changed many jobs. You can imagine with the war in Milano. Uh, they didn't have the house anymore in 1945, so they have to restart from zero. So he changed jobs many times, but always moving forward and doing an international career at the end in management. Then we came back to Italy when we lived abroad for 5 or 6 years when I was a kid in Belgium, and then I came back on the Lake of Como, where it was a difficult period in Italy for social political issues. So we didn't go back to Milano, and in Como, it's a it's an interesting place to grow as a young person. Beautiful lake. You don't imagine it as it is today. It's much less glamorous than today, but it's still beautiful. So the eye for beauty, the eye for nature, and the beauty of living outside, I learned it there. And then I went back to Milano for university, where I studied with the ambition to do a career in management without a specific idea of what I wanted to do. So I started in fast consumer goods for 4 or 5 years. That was my imprinting. And then I moved to Switzerland. When I moved irrationally. The most important thing is you do it with your heart. My girlfriend at the time was living in Neuchâtel. So I found a job in Neuchâtel and I entered in watchmaking. It was a bit by chance. It was the year 2000, and it wasn't until 2009 when I took over the division. And when you take over the division, you also enter in the manufacturing of the watchmaking. And that is where I got fascinated because it's beautiful, the design, the aesthetic part. But if it doesn't match with something physical that you do, the real heroes in watchmaking are behind the scenes in the manufacturing. They have this tremendous loyalty to the brand they work for. They have a tremendous sense of pride and also a courage to do things that are crazy. I mean, when you think that in a watch you have thousands of parts and the tolerances in a movement can be up to 2 microns, and you correct these things by hand in the ground complications, you enter in a world of I cannot describe it. It's a very individual world because a watchmaker works on his horizon, and his horizon is 4 centimeters. But also he works together with others because a watchmaker assembles the works that are done before. So everything that is conceived before the assembly of a movement or of a watch has a lot of intelligence that goes into the thinking of the process, the thinking of the quality, and assuring that everything is thought well to be executed well. So there's a sort of music that is an invisible music where everybody has to play the rhythm of a process, of an industrial process. And to be heading a manufacturing or to be heading a brand brought me to be almost like a director of an orchestra, where everybody is playing an instrument, but the music has to be interpreted, and the music is what everybody's playing. So that is a sort of metaphor that fascinates me, because you have the creative side, you have the technical side that have to work together. It's like the left and the right brain, part of the brain that have to coexist, and then the outcome is something that has to express the values of a brand in the interest of the values of a person, the client. So it's very complex if you think, but it has to be instinctive also. It cannot be, if it's too rational, you put out something cold, something that doesn't have a soul. And also in luxury, you need to have that twist, that unexpected emotion that is not invasive to the balance of what you're wearing, but it gives you that personal connection with an object. No? And this came all the way. It's an evolution that I cannot say when they're not moments in which I say, that is a defining moment. I learned something. No, it's a gradual learning in the hard way, because you do it through work, and it's your work that if you're passionate about. Passion is a word that is overused. I think you have to love what you do.
Mm. Mm. You said one thing that was hidden, like you always had like your own head, your own way of doing things.
Mhm.
So was it like the feeling that you belonged, or were you observing from slightly from the outside when you look back? Like, I mean, like 25 years ago, that was 2000s when you started.
Yeah.
Um, you came here to Switzerland. You started. Before 10 years, you lived in Italy, right? So give me like a context of that feeling. That's what I want to understand.
Well, the first 10 years in Switzerland, I think they were a discovery, no? Discovery, a personal discovery.
You were 30,
I
27?
was 20, 31.
31.
I read in,
Like me now. Okay.
yeah, like,
Yeah. Like
so I'm born in 69. It was 2000, yeah, 31. So the first 9 years were very interesting, because I didn't have a position, an apical position in the organization. I could learn, I could do mistakes, I could evolve in the understanding of what watchmaking is, keeping in mind that I was working for a brand which is not a watchmaker and not even Swiss. So it's an outsider point of view entering into the watchmaking category. But the evolution of the thinking was built through the understanding of what the brand was, the values, and the understanding what the client wanted from the brand, but also trying to provide things that you couldn't you could imagine would have come. Because if you think about Serpenti, I always say that Serpenti would never come out from a market research or from a benchmark. It comes out from an introspection of what is the customer of a brand and what its aesthetic codes, etc. And the same thing, the Finissimo. If the objective was to give watchmaking legitimacy to a brand that didn't have it, I chose the ultra thin as a segment that was overlooked by the industry, because at that time it was only a formal watch rooted in the 1950s or 60s in terms of aesthetics, and we brought it into everyday's life. So these are the intuitions, if you want, and then the execution. You do it with a team. You lead the teams in challenging them, and the view that the movements were not existing. We wanted to state the world records of finesse to underline the skills of the manufacturing that we were doing. So at the end, that was a strategy to build a style and a legitimacy on a brand that didn't have it. In Parmigiani, it's completely different. Parmigiani, you have a brand which was already a watchmaking, prestigious high-end watchmaking brand that had lost connection with the audience in 15, 20 years ago. So we needed to reconnect, and probably the creative direction was what was needed in terms of style, in terms of what kind of luxury you want to provide. And this is putting the skills that I developed in my experience at the service of another brand value, which is completely different from the other one. So it's not a copy paste strategy. It's saying I enter a new brand. What do you want to say as a brand? That's the first question. Which values you want to express? Which is the client that you want to serve? Being an independent brand, which is not big, you don't need to go and please everybody. You choose who you want to serve, and you stick to it. You have to be consistent. You have to be able to clarify what you're doing, and everything comes from being coherent with this vision that we have placed. So, if I have to tell you the fil rouge is understanding probably, and this I understood when I took over the watch division of Bulgari, that well, the most important thing is to be able to interpret the values in a way which is understandable and consistent. And even if times are difficult, stick to it, persevere, because nobody will remember how was a quarter of 2012, but everybody will remember what you leave at the end of your passage, no? And if a brand is still building on what I had the chance to create with my team, it's because it was right for the long term.
I find this very interesting because I think like this perceptual lens that you have, like it's like specific superpower.
That's a bit too strong there.
No, but
I wish I had.
well, I would say it's something that most people in this industry doesn't have, and especially now, like I mean, like you mentioned it also itself, like you critiqued the luxury direction as well, but for a reason, because like this attention to detail, this lack, um, is visible, and here we have the total opposite. I would say we have a lot of attention to detail.